say, if you have not already, please like, share, and subscribe. In today's episode, I have a guy I look up to. His content's phenomenal. Kirk Munroe in the building. Kirk, what's going on, man?
Thanks for having me on, Seiko. I can't believe it's taken this long, man. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, love it, love it. Thanks for taking time out to record. So we've done a number of these, man. Kirk, go ahead and introduce yourself to the people.
Yeah, I'm Kirk Munroe. I've been in BI analytics for a really long time, like 25 years at this point. I worked at Cognos as a product manager and sales enablement. I've done um, customer success, actually working at Tableau at one point. And then for the last 4.5 years now, I've been one of the co-founders of Paint with Data, and we're a Tableau consultancy. We do like a lot of advisory architecture and some building kind of work, but really in the Tableau space. And I guess I've become known for data modeling in Tableau because I wrote a book on it, I guess about 4 years ago now, which was I kind of backed into. It's not really that I naturally love data modeling per se. It was more that there wasn't anything on it, and I was tired of people having to write all these crazy calculations because they didn't model the data right in the first place, and all the stuff about Tableau not being able to handle a lot of data. I'm like, it's not surprising when you denormalize everything into one table that it's not going to perform.
So true, so true. I read a number of your blogs. I read a number of your content. I haven't got to the book, but I'm gonna make sure I get the book.
Starting to
This
get
is
old, to be fair.
great stuff. Love it, love it. So at a certain point, you had to get your start. So you mentioned 25 years in business intelligence, Cognos, Tableau. You got your own shop. But again, at a certain point, you had to get your start. So what really compels you to get into data to begin with?
Uh, so I started like I don't program much anymore, but I started programming on a Commodore VIC-20 way back in the day. And I think I'm lucky for the space in that uh, I'm very I want facts behind everything. So it's a very hard time for me in general. People feel like they should know better than, than they do. Like when they drop ridiculous stuff, I'm like, is that true? Do you know what I mean? Like I just naturally always wanted to understand if it was true. So that just kind of drew me into the space. So I was running a startup in 2001, part of the first internet hype. I was pretty young and got caught up in it. And then Cognos had a job open up for a product manager. And I remember just going to the senior vice president, who I didn't know, but I found out as secretary, one of those kind of things in the day, admin. And got hold of him and said, "Hey, it'd be worth your time. I haven't worked in the space, but this is the way my mind kind of works." And it just kind of took off from there. So it's also why you'll see me in the community. It's not that I don't care about data viz. I do, of course. Do you know what I mean? But only insofar as it's answering a question that people probably didn't already know. Do you know, like visualizing data just for art is very cool, but it's not my thing.
Yeah.
Like that's all. Yeah.
Love it. Love it. Love it. So
Yeah.
really creative, crafty, got your first job, like, hey, kind of have this
Mhm.
conversation and, kind of just led to one thing to another. And now here you are running, your own company for 4+ years, which is amazing and phenomenal. Um, that's awesome. That's super awesome. So next question I love to ask, and in the context of this is like when I was 16, I was a construction worker and I will never pick up a hammer again, or I worked at the movie theater and I'll never eat popcorn. So with that in mind, what's been your least favorite job to date that you've ever had?
Oh, man, that's a great question. I worked at a gas station in high school, and the shifts were either like 4 to 12 or back shift typically. So some days I'd go to school, work 4 to 12. A lot of people have had a million times harder than me. It sounds funny to tell a hard luck story, but um, at the time I was getting $4 an hour, so $32 a shift. But a tank of gas at the time was still probably $30, and anything we overpumped, we were responsible for. And we'd pump like 5,000 bucks of gas a night. So you
Oh
could do
my
the error
goodness.
rate on that to making nothing. Do you know what I mean? And freezing cold in the winter time. So yeah, my thing would be, yeah, man, it's surprising that, now everything's self-serve. I'm not that uptight about it, but that was a character building, that was a character building job for sure. Everyone's
Oh
got
my
to have a
goodness.
rough job, man. It just always helps put every other job in perspective, I think, right? If you haven't
Yeah.
had a crappy job, go get one.
You have to have one. It sets
Yeah.
you up for a solid foundation. Everybody has to have a crappy one. It can't be all smooth sailings
Yeah.
for us. So, which actually leads me to my next question. So, there's a philosophy I live by. It's called failing forward, right? So, you never really fail. You just take the lessons that you got and you persevere and move forward. So, with that context in mind, what would you consider your biggest failure in your career, and what did you really learn from that experience?
I should have been ready for that question. I kind of struggle. Uh, I kind of struggle with it because to answer the question, not because I haven't had a lot of failures, but because it is learning. Okay, here's one. Um, uh, Smallish. Now they're quite a bit bigger, public company, but at the time we were like I don't know 300 or 400 people, and I was running product and marketing at the company, and it was just before they were going to go public, and it was basically a choice between me and somebody else to be on the path for CEO, and I felt like I was in the right spot on the path, but before I thought the decision even need to be made, the current CEO went with the other guy. So then you kind of have to leave because there's no spot for two people, right? But it was the best thing ever because I hated being an executive. I couldn't stand it. Do you know what I mean? Like it's so. I don't think people get this. Like the higher you get, the more political it gets. And
Yeah,
what really bothers me without, and not getting political about it, but when people um, judge whether a certain group of society is doing well by whether they're represented in the CEO office, I'm like, like they might not be well represented, but that's a dumb metric. Do you know what I mean? Like it's a
yeah,
dumb thing to want to be. Do you know what I mean? To like not see your kids and like cut other people down. Like it's a hard job to keep if and be a like I hate to be if you were a founder, maybe you could pull it off. But if you're parachuted in, it's rough, man. I don't, at least for me, I didn't like it. Each their own. But that was
yeah.
so failing at that was the best thing that ever happened to me, or whatever.
Uh,
He probably won with the other guy because I didn't do politics very well at all. Do you know what I mean? Like I speak my mind too much. Have a hard time keeping my mouth shut.
yeah. I 100% agree with that and the challenges of that, right? There's so many behind the scene politics and just things that there's way better ways of making money and providing for your family and being present than having to deal with some of that. And yeah, I 1,000% relate to that metric of how people view, because I have this title, then I'm quote unquote successful, or I'm deemed this whatever on paper, but that doesn't mean
Right,
anything.
right. I mean, obviously, you need to make enough money to get to that whatever that threshold is, because
Yeah,
it is tied to happiness to a point. But I do believe after that, what's the point of all of it anyway? Do you know what I
yeah,
mean? Like
yeah, I
it
agree, I
doesn't
agree.
continue to make you happy. Yeah, I think the
There's
curve looks a lot of curves look like this in life, like the curve of diminishing returns. Like I think money and happiness completely on that curve. So I would never be money doesn't buy happiness. Of course it does,
sure.
but only to a point. Do you know what
To a
I mean?
point, to a
Like
certain
yeah,
point, yeah.
yeah.
There's a show
Mhm.
me and my wife watch. It's called Industry. Going a little bit off topic, but it ties into it. And the show is real estate. Like, so I enjoy corporate greed shows where like the
Yeah,
CEO has so much money and then he just falls off because he can't get over his own humanity. But I
right,
was watching the show with my wife over the weekend, and I was just like, man, everybody on this show is miserable. They're all millionaires. They're
right.
all whatever. But they are so unhappy.
Like, yeah, we should move on. But how
Yeah,
could people love the show Succession and
yeah.
still want to be stinky rich as a
Yeah.
family? Like, I don't understand. Like, it showed
Yeah.
how miserable they are. And again, maybe some families aren't, but like, who would
Yeah.
want to be part of that family?
Yeah, it's
It's
crazy, it's
crazy.
crazy. Okay, so I guess I'll get back on topic, about
Yeah.
about the podcast. So, my target audience for the podcast are people who are just starting out in data, or they're trying to pivot and get into data, or somehow they were on YouTube or Spotify and just popped up in their career section podcast because of the algorithm. And they're like, "Oh, what is 10 Minute Tuesday? Let me check this out." So, with that in mind, what is one piece of advice you give someone who's just starting out in data?
Um, Yeah, I'm counter to a lot of people in this. So I think that, for instance, a lot of people say master SQL, like as a language, if we can call, I guess it's technically a language. I go, know what it does, but I don't think that's the most important point. Do you know what I mean? I think the most important thing y- y- so the two most important things. A lot of people would call soft skills. I don't actually like that term because I think there's ways to acquire those skills. You know what I mean? Like, be curious and bold, right? So don't be afraid to ask. If you get into a company, to ask an executive. questions like, what would be the one question if you could answer would change the way this business would run? And then answer those questions. Do you know what I mean? Like building KPI cards to show people the sales that they already knew anyway. It's just not, you know what I mean, is exciting. And then the technical skill, and this could massively be my bias, is I think it's going to be more important in data models or semantic layers. You could think about semantic layers going forward. And the reason for that is AI might go into a little trough coming up, wouldn't surprise me. It's natural for that to happen, but it's going to come back up. And if you spend any amount of time in business, in spite of all these companies trying to come up with tools to automatically build semantic models, I'm like, I don't know how it's going to work because all the business rules around how all this data gets in is in people's heads. It's not even in the application. It's like, no, our estimators put it in this way. And so your curiosity should go to find out how that data gets generated. And then you should be able to express it as a semantic model. And then, and I don't mean like ETL skills, I mean literally semantic model skills. And then you can know later whether someone builds a viz or creates just a metric or throws some agent at it, that they're likely at least to get the same answer because you're the one who built this foundation that described the data like underneath. At least I think for some period of time that's going to, because I don't know how some AI is supposed to magically go into everyone's head to figure out the rules to build the model. All these technical people building the solution, I don't think have stopped to take the time to go, your AI does not know what's, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I'll let it go on this. It might be able to do well with auditable systems like revenue and costs because that's got to be pretty solid because the IRS or whomever could come after you if it's wrong. But all the like front office stuff like CRMs and like that
Yeah.
data is so messy. Like you have to know, so if you have the right skills to do that and they can represent that semantically, I think that's where I would look to have those skills.
You know,
Again, my bias.
no, I think it's great because I ask this question to every single person that I interview, and you're one of the rare people that talk about understanding processes and people, and then how you implement it to stuff that you're building out. And I feel like the understanding the process and understanding what is being built is a skill, regardless of what technology stack will keep you relevant. Beyond whatever tools in play and
Mhm.
whatever is coming in.
Yeah, like even a simple example, like we're working with a client now who wants to, um, this isn't exactly it, like to give it away, but it's close. They want to, if a number's off dynamically, they want to replace their number, at say, at a person's level, just make it a little bit different, with the average if it's more than two standard deviations off. Staying away from the business case. But even then, the question has to be, is the standard deviation over a fixed time period? Is it across the entire scope of
Mm,
your data? Like, and
yeah.
and what does that actually mean? Do you know what I mean? Like, it's sometimes you frustrate people with these questions because they don't want to think about them. But I'm like, they're different answers, and you have to know what the data means, right? So you have to be able to think about these. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yep.
do you want me to recalculate the standard deviation every month, or every year, or over the whole scope of the data, or the filtered data? And I don't think people spend enough time thinking about that kind of stuff.
No, I think it's all build, Claude Code, AI, fast, fast, fast. But it's like you got to ask these questions to the
Right.
audience. Cool. Also, Kirk, where can listeners find you at online?
I guess I'm on LinkedIn the most. I'm mostly off sharing on everywhere but LinkedIn, I guess. So LinkedIn's probably the best place to find me. I'm terrible. I have a YouTube channel, but I'm almost never on it. Do you know what I mean? So, but I would send everything on LinkedIn anyway. So you could, if you found me on LinkedIn, then you'd be able to find everything else.
Awesome. So follow Kirk on LinkedIn, paintwithdata.com. Is that right? Is that the website?
Yep.
Paintwithdata.com.
Yep.
Paintwithdata.com. YouTube, follow him. Kirk, this was great. Thanks for taking time out today.
Yeah. Thank you, Seiko. I'm thrilled to be here. Great conversation.
Yeah, likewise. It was awesome. It was awesome. And as I said in the beginning, if you have not already, please like, share, and subscribe. And we'll talk to y'all next week.